Hey everyone, it's Abby from Craft Industry Alliance. Hope you are having a fabulous day today. It is Wednesday, which means it's time for our member spotlight. This is an opportunity for us to drop in on one of our amazing members and let them know how much we appreciate them, get a sense of their business, learn about their creative journey, and just get inspired. So today we're going to be talking to Kara McKinley and from the Knit McKinley, and she's got a beautiful knitting pattern business. She's a really skillful knitter, and I'm very excited to talk with her. She should be joining us shortly. In the meantime, I wanted to just give you a quick update on a live event that's coming up for Craft Industry Alliance. We are going to be having a webinar all about making connections for collaboration and partnership. It's with Logan Elliott. He's a fantastic business coach who is originally from New Zealand, and he's going to be joining us on June 30th, which is a Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, to talk all about how to make creative partnerships, collaboration, give us networking tips. He's also going to be talking to us about getting testimonials, customer testimonials, which is awesome, and building word of mouth marketing. So it's really all about the people to people connection part of your business, and I think can be incredibly valuable in my own experience. Partnering with other businesses is a great way to grow your audience, get your name out there, and it's also fun, especially if you work from home like I do and can get a little bit lonely sometimes. Having that partnership and connection is a great way to almost have like a set of colleagues that you can work with and talk to, and I don't know, makes your days more fun. So I'm very excited for Logan to be joining us. Again, that's going to be on Thursday, June 30th at 1 p.m. Eastern. All of our webinars are recorded, so if you're not able to make it live, I mean, it's always fun to come live because you can ask your questions and interact with the presenter. But if you can't come live, you can always watch the recording. And we've been around now for 7 years, so we do a monthly webinar. We've got 7 years worth of archives of fantastic webinars taught by industry experts, because we do one every single month. So when you join Craft Industry Alliance, you get access to all of them, which is pretty cool. So today, as I said, we are here for our member spotlight, and hopefully Kara will be here shortly, and we'll be able, oh, I see the Knit McKinley. Hi, Kara. I see you here. Hopefully you can request to join the live at the bottom. Press that little plus sign that's inside of the camera, and I will let you in. And as I said, Kara is a Craft Industry Alliance member, and her business is called the Knit McKinley. So we're going to get, oh, here she is. We're going to get to learn a bit about it and hear from her too. I love doing these member spotlights and getting to sort of drop in on a member studio. Like, what's more fun than that? And see samples of their work and learn about their creative journey. Hey, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm very excited to have you and to learn more about your business. I knew you grew up in Maryland, and I grew up in Maryland as well. So I grew up in Potomac, and then I went to Johns Hopkins, so in Baltimore, and I think you grew up in the Baltimore area.
I did. I grew up in Columbia, Maryland, and then I spent 11 years in Baltimore, actually a neighborhood right by Johns Hopkins, before moving up to sunshiny Rhode Island in 2018.
That's great. And I live in Boston now, so
transplant.
we've like followed each other. That's so funny. So what brought you to the Providence or to the Rhode Island area?
So I have a little sister who was good enough to give me a fantastic niece and nephew, and they settled in New Hampshire. So I wanted to be a day trip away from them, not like an entire day's worth of travel away from them. So was looking to just relocate, make a change so that I could be with them and watch them grow up.
That's awesome.
And it does feel like a good place to be because New England, we have colder weather, so perfect for knitting.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so true. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your knitting journey. When did you learn to knit?
So I learned to knit when I was an undergrad, so back in 2004, 2005. I actually got Stitch and Bitch from my local library, which was so popular at the time,
Yeah.
and I taught myself. I'm actually a left-hander, so I learned continental, and so it's so interesting to me to learn other people's knitting journeys too, because I was a library book user, and I went ahead and as the internet was starting to get more videos and there were knitting blogs, I learned so much online. And for the most part, so sorry, the dog
Oh, that's
barked.
okay.
I started knitting in 2004 and I haven't put down my knitting needles since
That's
then.
awesome. So I love that you taught yourself with the book and then online. I think that's very relatable to a lot of people. And so
Yeah.
once you started knitting, what were some of the first projects that you did, or what did you especially enjoy creating?
So I started with accessories. As I think everybody does. And it's one of those things where I started knitting hats when I figured out how you can knit in the round and that you were just, I find knitting in the round to be so much easier than knitting back
Yes.
and forth. And once I started knitting hats in particular, if anybody's interested in hopping on my website, I do have a lot of free hat patterns because I think everybody should learn how to knit in the round. And I think everybody should make themselves a hat because it is a perfect accessory that you can customize and find the perfect fit. And it's also relatively quick. So, no shade at the sweater knitters and the shawl knitters, but I really like projects that I can do in a week and not, months.
Right.
Not to say that I don't have a closet full of sweaters because I may or may not also have a closet full of sweaters, but I love hats. And so as soon as I figured knitting in the round out, that is where I've been and I haven't looked back.
Right. Okay. And then you started launching some patterns to sort of create a
I do.
business out of your passion for knitting. And when was that? And what were some of the first patterns? Were they hat patterns that you also launched with?
So I did. So what actually happened was there was a fabulous local yarn store in Hamden in
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore. It has new ownership now. At the time, it was owned by a lovely human named Sue Caldwell. And she partnered with elementary schools and collected hats, and she called it the 500 Hats Project. So everybody in a school community could get a hat. And I actually have here one of the first patterns that I ever shared on my very young knitting blog was this, which is the road trip hat. So this is actually a freebie on my blog if anyone's
Oh,
interested.
great.
It's also one of the first patterns I released back in 2012. And it was inspired by this charity knitting project that my local yarn store ran. So since then, over the last decade, I've continued to release patterns. In 2019, I actually started an Etsy store. So I sell knitting patterns, but I also sell project bags online
Right.
now
I saw
too,
those.
because
So do you sew those as
yeah,
well?
I do.
That's nice.
I
They're
do.
multi-craftable.
So there's also some cross stitch and embroidery
All
around
right.
here. I haven't found a craft I don't like, but knitting is my
Right.
passion.
That's great. So project bags
And
are awesome, and you can
I,
find those in your Etsy shop too.
yes, yep. So the main thing that I do is I blog about knitting and I share my knitting adventures and my knitting patterns. I really like community and charity knitting projects, which is why I offer so much for free because this is a community that has been wonderful to me, and I want to give back to the community that I
That's
love.
awesome. And so have you found a local yarn shop in Rhode Island or more than one that you would recommend?
So we are so lucky in Rhode Island. It's a tiny state with just great yarn shops. And then we can joke about like the fact that if you sneeze in Rhode Island and step back, you'll be in
Yes.
Massachusetts or Connecticut. So there's so many, but if you're in Rhode Island, and Rhode Island has great tourist destinations, so if you're here for Newport or Block Island, we actually have my closest yarn shop, which is Skein Yarns, which just opened last year, which is so wonderful. But we have Knit One, Quilt Two. We have the Mermaid's Pearl, which is in Wickford, which is amazing. And then we are also home to Block Island, which also has Northern Light Knits. And they're one of the few micro mills left in the United
Oh,
States. So I am spoiled by local yarn. And then we have local yarn dyers, which some of my colleagues at Craft Industry
yeah.
Alliance or some of your viewers may know. Like we have Ken Yarns, just fabulous, fabulous color and yarn here in Rhode Island.
That's awesome. Very cool and great to hit the highlights, especially in the tourist season in New England. If anyone's traveling, that's great. And can you show us some more samples? That hat, which is a free pattern, is so beautiful. I love that
Thank
one.
you.
So yeah, show us some other patterns that we might be able to access.
So this is one of my favorites. This is the Callis Street hat. This is actually fake cabling. So yes, it is like 80 degrees here in Rhode Island, and I am in fact going to slip it on.
Wow, look how
So this is
pretty.
not a cabled beanie. It's actually all knits and pearls and super easy and accessible. So you can find this one on my website or on Ravelry
That's
or
beautiful.
Etsy. Thank you. And then this is the Butcher's Hill hat. And actually, if you subscribe to my newsletter, you get this pattern. Oop, that's sideways for free.
Look at that.
And this is a size for babies through large
Oh, nice.
adults. So I love
I
this.
have
This
the
is actually
large
Madeline
adult. I
Tosh
got a large
wool.
adult size head, so I have like the extra large head. But that's good that it's
I
size
love that.
multiple sizes.
So I try to offer all of my knitting patterns in multiple sizes because different head sizes are real and everybody should have a hat that
Yes.
fits and looks great on them. And then this is one of my newest patterns. This is Westminster, which I just released a couple months ago.
Oh, your work is so like refined and just, I love it. It's so beautiful.
Thank you so much. I love knitting hats and I love how they are a quicker project, but still something that is thoughtful and does take, a little bit of time.
They're
And
like a
also, there's
little
such a
palette.
great palette for showing
Yeah,
stitches.
I was gonna say they're like a palette for showing off a technique, I feel like. It's almost like because they are small and doable, it's almost like you can show off a favorite yarn or a favorite stitch like easily in this one project. And yeah, so you can just make another one and try again. So I think that's really cool.
Exactly. So you can knit a hat and it can show off like this is just a very plain ribbed hat, but it's beautiful because the yarn itself is also just a beautiful yarn. And that is something that is so amazing. You can take this little project, you can add any stitches to it, any colors to it, and just have something that's uniquely your
Yeah.
own. And I feel you on the big head thing. I try to offer all my patterns in multiple sizes, like at least 3 adult sizes, because again, everybody should find a good fit in their hats.
Absolutely. That's so great. So I love this. I'm not a knitter myself, but my daughter is, and she's actually quite a good knitter and knits
Great.
hats, and she's made me a hat that I love to wear. So I will point her in the direction of your website. So maybe because these don't seem super complicated either. Like they seem like something that would be approachable for maybe an advanced beginner or intermediate knitter.
Yes. And so that is one of the things that I do aim to help is I try to write like super clear, accessible directions. I use my blog as a place to help explain techniques that might be new or might be a little more challenging. And I love that knitting in the round is something that can seem like a barrier, like it's going to be complicated. And I'm like, nope, just give it a try. You'll love it. And then you'll be able to find some really great, clear instructions to make yourself a beautiful hat.
Yeah. So are you doing this full time as a business, part time as a business, side hustle, kind of hobby? Like how does this business fit into your life?
So I do this as a part-time business for now, and I love the flexibility and fun that it offers because it's mostly online. It's one of those things you can do whenever you have a little bit of time, and you can do it from almost anywhere. And it's a great way to connect with other knitters and other folks like in the yarn industry. So it is a side hustle, part-time business, but something that I love and take super
Yeah.
seriously as I want to put out a good product for my audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And it allows you some creative expression and some passive income too, because passive income is kind of a misnomer. It's never really passive because of course you're still doing customer support and all of that sort of thing. But once you've created that pattern, that's the labor intensive portion. And then it can actually sell while you sleep. That's the passive part. So
It is, and it's interesting. I think we all, as creatives, have to think about our finances when we're running a business because there are costs, especially the costs that you may not see. So, for example, paying for tech editing and paying for the web hosting
right.
and also the software that allows me to put out the product that is good. But the other thing that's so nice and so convenient is you're right. It is once the pattern is up there and online, you keep an eye on it, but it is just there to sell the digital downloads that folks can access at any point in
Right,
time.
which is
So
great.
it's a really cool way to run a business.
It
And
is.
I also love how online it can be because then you don't need to be at your local yarn shop or at a business in order to access the patterns because we can all find them
Right,
online.
exactly. And the more you create, the more, passive income streams there are. So I think that it's really neat and it's a great opportunity for people to add an element of creative expression that also brings in some extra money. So that's really cool and very inspiring. Thank you so much. So tell us a little bit about where we can come and find you. You mentioned you have a blog. I think you might also have a newsletter. So tell us a little bit about sort of where we can go to get more information and find you online.
So I have a blog at theknitmckinley.com. My Instagram is at knitmckinley, and from there you can find all of my links. But the main place to find me online is theknitmckinley.com.
Perfect.
I do have an Etsy shop with the same name, the Instagram, and I am on Ravelry as Kara McKinley.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you so much. And Kara, we really enjoy having you as a Craft Industry Alliance member. I really value you. So thank you also for being a member.
Thank you. I think everybody should join. I finished up my mastermind recently, and then I registered for it. Yeah, the collaborations session at the end of the month. I'm so looking forward to that work session.
Yes, absolutely.
Workshop.
Webinar we're having at the end of the month. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's great. I'm really glad you got to take advantage of the mastermind groups and are attending the webinar. So that's super. So thank you so much. Thanks for showing us your beautiful hats. And maybe I'll see you somewhere locally at a craft fair or art show or local yarn store since we don't live super far away from one another.
I look forward to crossing paths.
Okay. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you to everybody who joined us. Bye. See you next week.
Bye.